And we're live, I believe. Welcome back to LOI TV, Cautiously Optimistic, episode 6 now, I believe. Really getting through them now. Joined by Stocko and Griff this week. We'll have a few guests on during the show as well for the first time. But we're out tight tonight, lads, but we'll play well, won't we?
For sure.
It's going to be interesting. That was me turning. I'm absolutely watching in the background, boost up our views. Had to turn that off.
I think the YouTube thing is like 10 seconds behind because I did it last week. I had the YouTube just on mute, and then I think I went like that, and then 10 seconds later, you just go like that.
It's the same as me. It's pretty jarring, pretty jarring, like just watching me say something. I'm like, looking at myself, reacting to it 10 seconds later, like
laugh at yourself.
Jesus, he's too good.
Yeah. Yes, the like goal that we always set is 50 likes, but last week, I believe the last time I checked, it was on 82 likes. Wow,
that's mad.
Wow. So I think this week we're going to gradually build it to the 100 mark. So I think this week we're going to go 60 likes. Can we hit 60 likes? And that would be greatly appreciated. As we on the road to 3K, trying to just build it up a little bit. But we have, as I said, plenty of guests on tonight. Are you excited for the video? I'm looking forward to it myself. A bit of a change of pace from what we're used to.
Yeah,
it's going to be interesting. Yeah, it's going to be funny. You go ahead.
Oh, thanks, man. Like obviously we're 2 weeks away from the league starting. It's that excitement is starting to kind of build. Like we've been talking about it for so long, and now to finally have fans on. I think it's 4 or 5 this week, and then 5 this week, 5 next week.
Yeah,
really, really exciting. Yeah, and it'd be interesting to see each fan's thoughts because obviously we're like neutrals. Well, Ross more towards shells. Me and Griff maybe a little bit Bows-ish.
Absolutely have the Bows jersey in the background as well.
It'd be good comment in there from Developed Plum. Thanks, Developed Plum, for the comment. But it'd be interesting to see each fan's comments, and they know a lot more about their own clubs than we might would. So really look forward to it.
For sure. We have Orlali asking here, are you going to do a first division preview as well? We're not going to do it on the live show. We're going to do separate videos, I think, for that. Obviously, as a Shells fan, I do want to discuss the first division. It's going to be something else. Such a good league. There's Bray down there, Galway, Cork, Shells, just to name a few, and then all the other teams are strengthened as well. And there's Treaty United. See how they get on their first year. So the first division is going to be class this season. I can't wait for it. And we'll definitely have some content coming out over the next 2 weeks on that regard. Irish footy vlogs. All good. Yeah.
Absolutely fabulous. Brilliant.
Fantastic. Yeah. So first up, obviously, we're going to be on an alphabetical order. So we'll have a Bows fan up first, then Derry, then Drogheda, Dundalk, Finn Harps, and then next week we'll get the other five sides on. So I'm looking forward to it, lads. We haven't really scheduled anything to talk about in the first 10 minutes. Just kind of said we do a little introduction and then work our way into it with the fans. But any other things? Bins.
Tornans.
I think I know what that is. It's because do you remember your man commented? He was like, they might as well call themselves Thornton's TV because all they do is recycle content.
Oh, yes, yeah.
Paul Neal, we know you're using your burner account, like you're using the burner account. We know
got a few interesting replies and tweets the last week or two, and we're not going to name names.
I absolutely just did.
No comment. Prefer not to speak.
All we're saying is we know where you live.
Absolutely not. Like just for future reference. Absolutely
not. Top man key. But just in the last week or so, I think in the last week the Dylan McGlade interview went up and the Dara Doyle interview went up. And obviously, Ross, you were on with me for the Dylan McGlade one, and he was talking about their disappointment about getting relegated, but like they're really, really excited for the season ahead in Cork, hoping to bounce back up. And thanks again to Dylan for the interview. I thought it went really well.
Yeah, no, top man, really good player as well. So Cork will be definitely up there, and it's a shame not to see Cork in the top flight because that's where they do belong. 100%. Even Shells and stuff. I'd like to think they belong in the first division or the Premier Division.
Yeah, living in the past, maybe
But yeah, we're gonna be filming an LOI memes video as well this week, I believe. If we get around to
last week.
So there's still time to send those memes coming up ahead of. I'd say we're filming it probably later on in the week, but we have a lot of exciting stuff coming up. We've loads of interviews. I think we have Greg Bulger, an interview to come out with him, Gary Shaw, Bray as well. So and then a couple of others in the pipeline, hopefully as well. So yeah, plenty of content coming out over the next 2 weeks. Cork belong in the first division. Lenny loving it.
Yeah, slightly biased opinion, maybe.
Actually, speaking of Shells in the first division, Damien Duff back with under 17s as well after his little thing with Ireland. So that's great to see. I think it shows you like he just loves working with like the young players, doesn't he? He has such a passion for it, like. Because I feel like he probably could get a more high esteem job kind of thing.
Yeah.
So,
well, I mean, he's gone from like the background or the backroom staff in Ireland to doing like under 17s of Shells, which kind of just shows like he's clearly just loves football, really. So good to see. Like it's got that good coup for Shells as well. Like you want to coach like that. I mean, how amazing would it be as like a 16, 15-year-old lad and you have Damien Duff coaching you? Like
I was just about to say that, like Premier League winner, like. You're not going to take any shit off Damien Duff.
Yeah.
Like you're going to want to bust your balls from him.
Brain is here, so I might just crack on with it. To be honest,
crack on. Yeah.
Brain.
Here he is now.
All right, single man, reveal yourself.
How are things, Brain?
Crack.
All right,
not too bad.
Thanks a lot for joining us. Really appreciate it, mate.
No worries. Can you hear me all right? Yeah.
Perfect.
Like 3 laptops. All right, grand. Yeah.
That burn is becoming serious, man. Oh, we look like hosier, like.
It's actually like I've actually tucked it behind my ears and I can't see it, and it's fucking
Sergio Ramos, like.
Yeah, that's kind of what I was going for. Ramos between 2007 and 2012. That was the aim, obviously. My inspiration in all walks of life, Sergio Ramos.
Podcast like half, just like yourself as well. But yeah, Soccer, do you want to get us started on? I mean, obviously talking to you about Bohemians, so.
Yeah, Sabrina, obviously you're working for the club as well at the minute as the amputee manager, but just Bows themselves, the senior men's team, finished second last season. Do you have any thoughts about the campaign last year?
Yeah, it's hard to know whether Bows last season, whether they punched above their weight somewhat, and because they've been quietly building, on like a fourth place finish and then moving up. Given that it was a kind of a half season and doesn't count that Rovers went invincible, it is kind of hard to know where they stand going into this season. But overall, last year, I think the only disappointing part was maybe that we only got to the quarterfinals of the cup. Obviously, Dundalk went on to win it, but when you look at the performance in Europe and when you look at the overall performance, maybe in the 2 games against Rovers, let themselves down a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
But no, generally it was a very, very good season given the year that was in it, and for the club itself. They said the other day they have 1,000 members for the first time ever. Like it just shows that the club has gone from strength to strength, really.
Yeah, for sure. Obviously some big departures. Obviously we saw Danny Grant leave the club, Andre Wright. Chris Twardick was a big one, actually kind of went a little bit under the radar maybe during the season as well, which is obviously a huge blow for them. So it's kind of nearly a whole new front line coming in. Is that a concern from your point of view?
A little bit. I think Twardick is one of those that he looked great. In fairness, he did look very good, but he was only there for such a short space of time that, you don't really know, okay, had he stayed for the full season, would he have made a massive difference? Rovers had a massive lead, in fairness, and it was going to be hard to claw that back in such a short season. But I think the players have brought in, there's a lot of unknowns, obviously. I watched the friendly against Dundalk there, was it last Friday? And, the kid, Bert, looks good. I know Stephen Mallon's picked up an injury, so, he looks like he could be very good. But in terms of, yeah, you're right. They haven't just lost, they lost Corcoran as well. And you're kind of wondering, are we going to struggle for goals? Someone is going to need to step up. Grant's creativity, post lockdown last year was unbelievable. And he deserved that move and he got it. But now you kind of wonder, where are the goals going to come from? And there's no one really established that you'd say yeah, they're going to come from there, or we brought in an established striker from somewhere else in the league, or there is one who's kind of been coming up and slowly building. It is really, really hard to know. Like I made a list about 10 minutes ago of the players you brought in, and there's some really, really good names in there, but none of them jumped out as obvious goal scorer. So that's maybe the only slight worry. But because they brought in a couple of players from across the water, you wonder, will they take to it like a duck to water, if you excuse the water pun. They're coming from a certain level that they're going to come here and think, I can do well, and they're also going to want to impress both Bows and their parent clubs, and this is their opportunity to do it. Young players go out on loan, and they're told you're going to go to Ireland and you're going to get a lot of game time. You're going to want to impress.
Yeah, it's interesting that you said that as well, because that was the next point I was going to touch on, was the signings that they made. Obviously, signed a few young players like Tyreek Wilson. I'm completely reading off a list here.
I have mine. Don't worry.
Yeah, my notes. Like
there's a lot.
Yeah, Bastian Harry, Liam Burr, Bradley Roll, especially Bastian Harry, brilliant player anytime I've seen him, and of course, the climate justice officer, massive signing.
Massive signing.
Massive signing, like. Do you think there could have been anything more done, especially difficult times for most clubs in the league, in terms of financial, there's kind of limited what you can do, but do you think there was any areas that they could improve on in particular, and where could they have signed a better player, really?
It's a good question, but it's a really difficult question to give you a proper, honest answer. There's so many unknowns in world football at the moment, never mind Irish football. And I think they've done extremely well to bring in players of the quality of Bastian Harry. Like, I mean, that the friendly against Dundalk last week is the only time I've, obviously seen Bows so far. And I was really just impressed with him. He was getting on the ball. He was kind of the outball for everything. He was up and down. And it's kind of exactly, you're kind of going, him and Buckley in midfield could create a really good partnership. Or,
it kind of look also on like Lonnie and stuff, isn't it? It's an upgrade.
Yeah, and I obviously, well, actually, one thing that needs to be said, I think, is Keith Ward has. I would happily go on the record and say that about this time last year, I was kind of like, I don't really see Keith Ward being at Bows beyond this season. I thought he might go, back to Sligo or somewhere to continue his journey within the league. But he really played himself back into the team. And, in Hungary, he was the best player on the pitch, other than maybe Dan Casey. But, I thought he really, really came back into fruition, and he formed a good kind of understanding with Danny Grant. So I think you kind of say, right, well, where could they have improved? Obviously, you want to bring in a striker. You obviously want to recreate the creativity of someone like Danny Grant. And I think Casey's a big loss as well. I was very impressed with him. But overall, it's kind of hard to know where in a landscape that's so affected by COVID and bringing in players from overseas was always going to be difficult. I think they've done quite well. And there's at this stage, it's kind of hard to say, given everything, that, they should have improved at right back, or they should have improved in on the left. Like, it is very, very difficult to answer your question, to be totally honest with you. And it's one of those kind of things that, compared to maybe the clubs, say Dundalk, for instance, really don't know what you're going to get with Dundalk this year, because all of these players are basically, it's an entirely brand new squad. So with us, at least, there's a lot of consistency there. And we've got like a solid kind of foundation. I think we've got two really good goalkeepers. And I think Talbot has probably nailed that down. So hard to know, really, to answer your question.
Yeah, you mentioned Dundalk there, and Rovers have signed a few players as well in the last few weeks. Looking forward to next season, this year. Is a title challenge realistic, or just staying in the top three, maybe going a cup run? What are you hoping to see, like, come October at the end of the year?
I was actually just thinking about this literally about 5 minutes before I came on with this, because I was like, what are my actual expectations this year for Bows? Because it's, again, as I just said, it's very difficult to kind of predict. I think Keith Long has done such a great job over the last few years, and obviously has signed an extension to his deal, and that's great news for the club. But I think it'd be wrong to say, well, he's doing a great job, so whatever he does, it'd be fine.
Yeah.
I think now there is a minimum, for me, expectation. Well, we've actually built on something, and I think overall we're probably, the second or third best team in the league. The positions don't lie. But I think for me, it's a minimum top 3 finish. I think a cup run, like it's just to get to a final. I think the last, been in the semi-finals 2 of the last 3 years. The last 2 years we've lost the eventual winners either in the semi-final or the quarter-final. I think it'd be great just to get over that hurdle and get into a cup final. And I think in Europe, then you kind of say last year was obviously just so heartbreaking. This year, again, Europe is kind of like a bit of a free-for-all. Obviously, it's not free-for-all, it's a bit of a freebie. If you do well in your game or your 2 games or whatever, it's great. But there's no expectation in Europe. But it would be great to maybe win a game in Europe, get to the cup final, maybe win something, and then finish in the top 2 or 3. Do I see us realistically challenging for the title? I'd love to say yes, and there's obviously a possibility, but there's so many unknown quantities. And I think Rovers will miss Jack Byrne a lot. I think Dundalk will miss most of their team, and you really don't.
Oh. It was a good point up until then.
Yeah. I think we just lost him, have we?
It was going so well.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think we just lost him.
Give it a second.
Would you
agree with a lot of what he's saying in terms of that?
Yeah.
Oh, we have him back. Lovely stuff.
We have him back, yeah.
Sorry. Sorry. I don't know how far I got in there before it cut me off, but for me, a cup run to the final, maybe win something. Europe, a winning game or 2, who knows? Yeah. And then in the league, top 3, and then if we can challenge, if we're there when Rovers slip up and when the Dundalk slip up and we're in around that position, I'll say, yeah, this is great. But realistically, I don't see us winning the league. But I don't want us to win the league either, because if we're not there, it'd be shite. But
that's
Rovers won that half season last year, and
it wasn't really big deal. Yeah,
do you agree with hope? And I think that said, it doesn't really count. Or I wouldn't have celebrated or something like that, wasn't it?
And he's dead right. Okay, you won your 18 league season, but it was 14 games really. You didn't actually win your you didn't actually win a full season. After lockdown, it was a mini league, and only having to play Bows once in that game, and then ref was on their side. Not to sound salty about it, but it was ridiculous. But
asterisk
doesn't really count. Yeah, exactly. It's true. And actually, of all the leagues in Europe that should have an asterisk beside it, it should be ours, because we literally for the only league in Europe that played a half league or a mini league. Some leagues just stopped, and the other leagues just completion. That's actually really interesting to find out where we're the only league that actually played a kind of truncated version.
Yeah, no, it's a good point. Yeah, it's a good point. Breen, absolute pleasure to get you on. Really, really appreciate it. And
no worries, boys.
Yeah, top man.
Cheers, Breen.
No worries, all the best. Have a good one.
See you later.
You too, man. Thanks very much. Lovely stuff. Right, so we will move on to Derry City now in a second. But I thought, Bows, got some good points made there by Breen. Interesting to hear his perspective on it. And would you agree with a lot of what he's saying, even as a Bows fan yourselves, kind of thing?
Yeah, just one point I make, it was really nice to hear a considered opinion and not just we're definitely going to win the league. He knows the team's limitations at the moment. He knows where they are, and it's his head saying it. It's not his heart. So that was quite nice to hear.
It's interesting to hear as well. Yeah. Sorry, go ahead.
No, I just said this real quick. The expectations you actually said were pretty realistic, I think. Do you know what I mean? That's what you'd imagine. That's what you want as a Bows fan now, I think, is a top 3 finish realistically and kick on from there. So, we'll see.
It's also interesting, just the last thing on it, that it's kind of top 3 is a minimum now, though. It's a failure if it's below that, which I thought was interesting as well, because Bows are usually get the top half and it's good enough. So it's the progression of the club, I suppose, on and off the pitch, really. But we will move on to Derry City. We've JP Fahy here. JP, how are things?
Hi, not too bad. Cheers to have me on, lads.
Hey, JP.
Really appreciate taking the time. Really appreciate taking the time now.
No worries.
Obviously, last season we'll touch on first. Disappointing enough year, finishing, I believe it was 7th. For you, where did it go wrong?
I think it went wrong in the summer. There was a lot of players that didn't come back after the lockdown. We played 4 games. I thought we were looking we weren't looking strong, but I thought we were doing we would have done okay if we had held on to the team that started last season. But there was must have been about 7 or 8 players came in around about end of June, start of July. They had a quarantine before they could play, and by the time they got up to match fitness, we were almost finished. I think that's where it went wrong, was there was too many changes in the summer.
Yeah, definitely. The likes of Walter Figueroa, Conor Clifford, Conor McCormick as well, leaving in this transfer window. Can you see them impacting the squad much? Will they be kind of big shoes to fill in the season ahead?
Probably McCormick. I don't think the other two had as much as a good impact as we expected. McCormick, I think, done a really good job in the midfield in front of back four. He was probably a key reason why we were sound. We were sound defensively. I don't think a lot of teams played through us. I think most of the goals we conceded probably came from set pieces, really.
Yeah.
The other two, I thought Clifford, I didn't really have any high expectations of anyway, because I felt he was very underwhelming at the likes of St. Pat's, Limerick, Dundalk. Walter, I expected more from Walter, to be honest. He played against us in the semi-final of the League Cup the season before, and he was outstanding. Everybody left, even though Waterford lost 4-2, everybody left the Brandywell that night checking to see how many years he had left at Waterford, because he was a player that we really wanted to see.
Yeah.
And when we signed him, we were absolutely over the moon. He started off well, scored that fine goal against Bowes in the Brandywell. But if we hadn't had the breakup, maybe we would have seen a lot more of Walter.
Yeah, no, good point. Obviously, those players leaving, but this winter, you've actually made quite good business. Danny Lafferty coming back, David Parkhouse, Stanley Lupano, Will Patching, Will Fitzgerald, and Mark Walsh, and of course Joe Hodge coming on loan from Man City. So overall, you think pretty good business for Derry. Would you agree?
Oh yeah, definitely. I think there's a look at the squad. There's a good mix of youth and experience. As touched there in Danny Lafferty, not only does he bring title winning experience with Shamrock Rovers, but he also brings Premier League experience, Championship. Yeah. He's got promoted on a few occasions in England, so he's got that experience there, and no doubt they'll be using it. They try and pick a squad, keep a squad going. And then you look at the players that we held on to as well, the likes of Kieran Harkin, Kieran Cole, Owen Toole, Darren Cole. So yeah, I think through all in all, it's good business. But I think the big one you have to look at the big one is David Parkhouse, because I felt even in the truncated season, I thought there was a lot of games where we had chances to score, and the players that we had up front just weren't good enough in the end up.
Yeah. We were talking to Declan Devine actually just on the channel recently, and he was saying about how good it was. You mentioned Parkhouse there, to get him on a 3-year deal as well as bringing him in. How good is that now? I think Derry have lost a couple of players by being out of contract. How good is it to have that kind of 3-year deal behind him?
Oh, it's absolutely as a Derry fan, it's absolutely amazing. They know that you've got that striker now for 3 years, and it's on the club's terms now on whether he goes or not. But hopefully he's going to be here for the 3 years, and maybe even longer. As a Derry fan for the last 6-7 years, you're going into a new season and you're playing guess who in the first game of the season. And sometimes the first game in July you're playing guess who as well. But it's just, and if you look throughout the squad, the likes of Danny Lafferty has a 2-year deal, or the goalkeeper Garrett Side has a 2-year deal. I think Owen Toole has 2 years left, and I know there's a couple of midfielders as well are on a couple of years. So it's going to be interesting now to see whether we can build on these instead of buying from year to year. Can we build upon it? Like.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, for sure. As you're saying, obviously, if David Parkhouse has a great season, then 2 years left in his deal, you get a good sum of money for him into the club. Yeah. So that's the worst case scenario, nearly. It's still a good result for yourselves. Just in terms of ambitions for the season, obviously we've kind of touched on the signings, which are really, really impressive for me. Obviously Joe Hodge as well, we're all excited to see. But from your point of view, the ambitions for the season, is it a Europe top 4 kind of thing, or is it more kind of gradual, maybe towards the top half?
I think we've got to. Last season for half a season, it was really, really disappointing. So I think we probably can't get too optimistic. We probably have to look at maybe trying to maybe compete, get top 4 or 5. I think would be a good season based on last season, and because we've got 10 players on multi-year contracts, we'll be able to just add it next year instead of replacing them, and then maybe do something similar to what Bows have done and built on it from year to year. But look, I'm sure Derry will be looking at the likes of Sligo and St. Pat's and thinking that they've got a chance of finishing above them and getting into the top 4, because personally, I think the top 3 picks itself this year. It's all going to depend on how Dundalk click. A lot of new faces there. So I think you could probably put your hat in the ring and say Rovers and Bows will definitely be top 3. Dundalk, if they click, will be in there. So it's the 4th place, I think, could be up for grabs, and there's no reason why, with the business we've done, that we can't be there. For sure. Just lastly, to touch on the cup run that you had last season. Obviously, I think it came to the end at Sligo, wasn't it? The penalty shootout. Yeah, it was the worst penalties ever, wasn't it? It was shocking. Did we score it first, or did we miss the whole lot? I can't even remember. Maybe. Yeah. And then with Sligo missed, then we had the chance to like really insert our authority on the shootout, and we didn't do that. But remembering back the game, I felt that we were the better team. We created the better chances. Again, it goes back to not having a straight. If we'd maybe David Parkhouse air that night, we may have gone on and won the game. I don't think we would have won the semi-final. I think that it was like chalk and cheese. It would have been chalk and cheese because Rovers were really on top of our game. We were limping towards the end of the season. Obviously, they had out of the whole month of October, I think the squad had a quarantine because they had 2 outbreaks within the squad. So that could have played a part on why the season ending was so dire. But I don't think it would have made much difference anyway. Yeah, for sure. JP, absolute pleasure to chat to you. Really appreciate you coming on the show. You.
Thanks, man.
Cheers.
Really appreciate it.
Cheers.
Lovely stuff.
Yeah, interesting.
Guys,
I think,
just want to say quickly, if you can hit 60 likes on this video or on the stream, really appreciate it. We're on usual target's 50, but we might as well bump it up to the 60 mark, see if we can hit it.
You're getting too big for your boots.
Yeah, geez, next week we'll have like 70, then 80, and then 1,000 in a few weeks. Like. Yeah,
any thoughts on that? Yeah.
Yeah, I was just going to say, I think top 4 for Derry it's definitely not out of reach. Do you know? I do think the signings that they made are very solid, and I do think they were disappointing last year. Even though he said himself, like Figueroa and those kind of players didn't really step up to the mark. Obviously, it was only half season as well, but I do think they have a decent chance making top 4. Like, and Derry as well, like real good footballing city. Like, you want to see them up there. Like,
for sure. After having such a positive first half-ish of the season, like they just nosedived after the league resumed. But yeah, great thoughts from JP there at the new signings. Top 4 ambitions, I think you'd imagine would be between Pats, Waterford, Sligo, and Derry for that 4th place. So
there's such small margins, isn't there? Like with them, it's like mid-tables 5th and then Europe's 4th. Like it's such small.
It's the problem with having a 10-team league. Like, do you know, just like there's only a certain amount of points given between being in the bottom half having a shit season and the top half having been like, oh yeah, real good season. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah,
it comes down to 1 or 2 games. The swing of things, like it's mad.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, no, absolutely. But yeah, next up we do have newly promoted Drogheda United. We're joined by Luke McQuillan. Is that right? Is that the right way to say it?
McQuillan.
McQuillan.
Hey,
how are things, Luke?
All right, lads. How are you?
How's things?
Pretty good, man. Pretty good.
Man. Appreciate it.
Yeah, all good. Thanks for having me.
No, I really appreciate you coming on, man. Obviously, you've been doing some class work on the Drogheda United YouTube channel. Would highly recommend going over and watching it if you haven't already. But you've been interviewing some different players each week. How do they all seem coming into the new season?
They all seem to be in good spirits, anyways, which is a real positive. Obviously, I started up that pre-season weekly, Drogheda United pre-season weekly on our YouTube channel, on our official YouTube channel over the last I think it's about 2 months now. We're on episode. Yeah, we've done 8 episodes, so over 8 weeks. So we do a weekly thing, which comes out normally every Saturday, around 3 o'clock. The way we normally do it at 4 o'clock, and we normally get them up then. But the players have been really good with their time, and all the players seem to be in good form. So plenty of positivity coming out of players. So it's a great thing to see.
Sure. Griff, do you want to jump in there?
My headphones died there for a second. Sorry about that, man. Having a clue. Like, Drogheda coming up, first division champions last year. Really positive season. Great season, obviously for you last season. I've said season about 4 times. Like, were you surprised that you did so well last year? Were you happy? Obviously, you were happy, but like, how did you think it went overall?
Oh, it was unbelievable, lads. To be honest with you, like, it's just obviously we started off the season quite well, and I think we played 3 games and we won 2 and lost 1. But even in the game we lost, we've seen a lot of positivity. So I was really optimistic going into the start of that season. And then the lockdown happened, which was obviously a really difficult one for everyone. And we didn't know when we were getting back, and there was a lot of uncertainty because people were like, we were the bookie favourite to win the league that last year. So I think having that sort of, like, there was no sort of, you know what I mean, like having that lockdown then come in, it was a real kick in the teeth really. And then but to get it back then and straight away in August, and like first game Shamrock Overseas away, like tough place, you know, Tala's always a tough place to go no matter what team you're playing, even the B team, like, and you know, it was just 2-0 down after 20 minutes and a red card as well. So it was back to the walls then, and you had to dig it out, and we actually did in the end, getting the 2-2 draw. So from then that gives us a platform, and then I think we might have played then at Lone, or it was a week after that at Bray home, and Bray, a fellow title contenders that we're aware of ourselves. Obviously they only finished like a point or 2 points behind us, so we won 3-1 against them, so that was a really good result. And then from then it all really pushed on. But to be honest, I thought Bray were going to win the league with a few weeks to go. I wasn't come towards the end. I was like, yeah, it was really tight. Like the running was mad. The running was mad. Even like between the playoffs as well, from first to about 5th, there's like, I think there was only like 5 points in the difference at one point. So it was just, it's mad, you know what I mean? So it was good having that. It was good entertainment. It's like for the neutral, but for a Drogheda fan, definitely not.
Yeah, I think for a newly promoted side to really consolidate their place in the Premier Division, like, it's really, really important to sign new players, and especially players with that Premier Division experience, the likes of Gary Deegan, Darragh Markey, Dinny Corcoran. We spoke to a while back as well. How important is that for the season ahead, and can you see them complementing the players in the squad that are already there?
Yeah, like you mentioned there, adding that Premier Division quality and how like important it is. It really is. Like you nailed it in the head there, because it's so important the way, if you bring in the experienced players, they know, you know what I mean, they've played in the Premier Division before. Like there's a lot of players in the Drogheda squad, a lot of young lads who haven't played in the Premier Division. So it's good to have them players, and Dane Massey as well, who's won everything with Dundalk, 8 years with Dundalk, and he won everything that you can win, really, you know what I mean, in the league. So to have a player like him come in with that experience and a winner, a born winner, really. So having that experience in the squad, and Deegan as well, that you mentioned there, he was obviously brilliant for Shells last season. Got a few goals. I don't think he scored many goals in his career. I think he might have scored, I think he only scored a few, but he scored a good few now for Shells last season. So he had a really good season, and having that
lunatic, he's a lunatic though.
Having that stability in the midfield, will be really, really good, I think. And he'll, you know, fella the breakup play, real experienced, and a leader as well. So having them experienced players come in is a real big benefit for Drogheda, definitely.
Yeah. What's the overall ambition for this season? Obviously, just coming up from the first division, are you looking just to survive? You know, get your foot in the door, or do you have higher ambitions? Maybe a mid-table finish.
Look, you know what I mean. It's about staying up, definitely, and then, you know, you establish yourself and surprise a few people. You know what I mean. Surprise a few teams. Take, you know what I mean. Just take each game as it comes. Every game is important, but take each game as it comes. We started now on the 19th of March. At home to Waterford, and I'm confident enough for that game. So I'm looking ahead to that, and I'm really looking forward to it, just to get back to you know what I mean, football. I'm in lucky enough to get to the matches, and I've seen even pre-season, you know what I mean, Drogheda, we're looking in good shape. So even you might have even watched some of the interviews that I've done with the players, and they're all in spirit, in good spirits, as I mentioned. So I'm just looking forward to seeing how they do, and hopefully we can aim as high up and survive.
Super. We're a bit jealous.
Yeah.
Seriously. Some press pass might be nice.
Yeah. An interesting one that I saw, actually, Ronan Murray scored an unbelievable free kick there. I think it was at the weekend, wasn't it? What do you think of that signing? It's kind of a weird career, because I can't remember who he was with, but he had a really good season, then went to Dundalk. It didn't really work out from there. And then I think he had another move as well, didn't go too well. So he's kind of come to Drogheda now. Do you think he's capable of having a great season?
Yeah, definitely. Like I do. He's that free kick he scored, I couldn't even put it into words, to be honest. Like, it was just absolutely madness. Like, you seen as soon as I left his foot where it was going, like, precision was just perfect on it. It was a brilliant free kick, in fairness. So hopefully he can produce more of them moments in the Premier Division. But yeah, no, I think it was a really good signing. I thought he was with Pats for a few weeks during the start of pre-season, and then he played a game. I think he scored against Cork, and then he then signed for Drogheda then a week later. So he's been with us now about 2 weeks. I think this is his third week. So he started really well, and hopefully now he can carry that on.
Yeah, just look at the signings you brought in again. Deegan and Markey, obviously centre midfielders. Did you feel like that was a position that needed strengthening?
Yeah, definitely. I do think, like, an attacking sort of player. You know what I mean? Darragh Markey has, like, you can see in the early sort of stages of the pre-season that he has that quality to pick passes and open pockets of play, and he's really, you know what I mean, a really, really good player as well. So another player who has a Premier Division experience. Like, I think he's only 23 or 24 years of age. He's young enough, so he has that experience as well in the Premier Division for his age. So yeah, that's a really, really good player to bring in.
He can still get better, obviously, as well. He's working towards the prime, like, so he can still get an awful lot better.
Yeah, he can push on now, and hopefully, you know what I mean, he can make himself a better player. Like, he's played in Europe as well with Pats. I spoke to him a few weeks ago on a show that we do, and it was a good chat with him, and a really, really good player who's confident as well. So it's always good to see. Yeah,
Luke, absolute top man. Really appreciate you coming on.
Yeah, no bother, lad. Thanks for having me.
Nice one, Luke. Cheers.
Best of luck. Thanks, man.
Right. Charge my laptop.
Oh, super. What cool. He works in media in the club, doesn't he?
Yeah.
What a cool thing to do.
Does real good stuff.
Yeah.
He's not the one who runs the Twitter by any chance, is he?
I don't think so. No.
All right. I'm not saying anything.
What was I going to say? What do you think of Drogheda's chances of staying up yourselves?
It's going to be tough.
Generally, you'd say might be between them and Longford. Like, that might just be an easy thing to say. I think Harps haven't brought in too many new signings as well. They probably be in the
Waterford
mix.
as well, could be down there potentially.
Waterford as well, possibly, but especially in this kind of late, no fans, kind of fucked up-ish season. Like, there's so many variables, so there could, and we've seen the Premier League this year already. Like, there could be a surprise or two, like, for sure.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
We'll move on to Dundalk. We did have a Dundalk fan who actually had to drop out, so Adrian Taff has came in and done us a huge favour. Really appreciate you coming on, Adrian.
No problem, lads. No bother. How are you?
How's things?
Not too bad.
Pretty good. So, you Rosh want to come on?
Just wanted, first of all, obviously you were commentating on the Bows Dundalk game there last week, and there was one player who stood out for me, was Ryan O'Kane, a young lad coming through. From your own perspective, what did you think of him?
Yeah, I think it's funny, isn't it, with the array of talent that Dundalk have brought in ahead of the new season, and brought in internationals and players from overseas. It was a 17-year-old, I think, that caught people's eye the most. There were other impressive performances, and I'm sure we'll probably get to them. But young Ryan O'Kane, he's impressed everybody so much. Again, at the weekend against Drogheda in the Malone Cup match as well, he had another really good game, and he's excited everybody, and to have a young lad come through. It's not very often young local players come through at Dundalk, such as the level that you have to get to play for Dundalk nowadays, So I think everybody's very excited, he played his youth football with Drogheda United, up the road, and he's come back from Northern Irish football, and he's got a great right foot. Seems to have a trick as well. No fear whatsoever. You watch him going down the wing in front of you, and and I don't want to put any doubt or fear in his mind, but he's like a child, he's got no fear whatsoever, none whatsoever. And everybody's really excited to see what happens. Mickey Duffy is out at the moment, injured, so
huge opportunity.
Might be our opportunity for him. When the big games come, will he actually start those games when the games really mean something against Rovers on Friday night and against Sligo next week? We'll see, But Filippo and the Dundalk management team, Shane Keegan, they've started him in those two friendlies, and that obviously shows that they have some faith in him, and it's easy to see why.
Yeah, definitely. So obviously Dundalk last season, bit of a weird season overall, because really good in Europa League, obviously qualifying, such a big achievement, but then finishing third in the league, and you would have felt that they would have wanted to do better. Looking back on it, what are your overall thoughts? Obviously you're not Dundalk fans. I'm not asking if you're happy, but do you think they could have done better? What were your expectations from the season, really?
Expectations last season were not to finish 22 points behind Shamrock Rovers in a half season, right? That's for a start, and 11 points behind those, so they were not the expectation, I don't think that was anyone's expectations. I don't know what to say about last season, it was I was actually dreading at the end of this. I was expecting you to predict what's going to happen this season. How do you predict what's going to happen this season when you've just witnessed a season like that,
Exactly.
But it was bizarre. It was absolutely bizarre, from the whole Vinnie Perk departure midway through things, and then the restart and the league form never really getting going on the restart at all. Dundalk just about doing enough to get into the European places, and then to have the season, getting into the group stages of the Europa League, fantastic. What a buzz that was. But the games, Dundalk competed well, I think, but never really. It's certainly not going to be looked back on as a vintage European season like 2016 was, there's a little element of disappointment about that. But I think most Dundalk fans understood why that was, it was important for Dundalk to reach Europe and try and win a trophy last season as well, which ultimately they managed to do. So how do I feel about last season? You're better off asking, a dyed-in-the-wool Dundalk fan, but it was a bizarre season. It finished in absolute joy with the cup final and the way the cup final went and how it finished. You couldn't have asked for a better way to win a cup final against your biggest rival over the last couple of seasons. So a bittersweet, but I think on the whole, when you look back, a success. On the whole, I think probably a success. Yes, hugely disappointing to finish so far behind Shamrock Rovers, but qualified for Europe. Certainly, Filippo Giovagnoli will tell you it was a success because he achieved the two targets that were set for him. Win a trophy and qualify for Europe.
You mentioned Filippo there coming in during the summer. There was a lot of eyebrows raised when he came in. Obviously, stuff in the papers about the kamikaze mission and his odd, vague background, like coaching at summer schools and etc. Is he the right man for the job, in your opinion? Obviously, he's brought his assistant as well. How do you feel about him in the season ahead?
Honestly, personally, I feel that the jury is still out to some extent. I don't think you can know for sure exactly where you stand. I think he needs a season. I think he needs a proper go at it. The environment around Dundalk and the expectation around Dundalk at the moment. He's got a tough enough start. He's got Sligo Rovers, Finn Harps, and then Shamrock Rovers. It's a difficult enough start. Sligo's not going to be easy. They've signed very well in the close season. Finn Harps is never easy. And then of course Shamrock Rovers. If that didn't go well, he may not get a season. Who knows? You just don't know. And that's not based on knowledge of thinking in the boardroom or anything like that. But what football's like. And it's a difficult enough start. So honestly, I find it very hard to really judge Filippo and whether he can be a success in the job. He has been a success in the job last season. I think that's fair to say, based on where the club were when he came in and how it finished. But as regards, will he ultimately be a success and will he be there in a year's time or 2 years' time? It's difficult to say, And there's also the issue at the moment around the management of the team. It's kind of being effectively shared a little bit. I think
strange.
So it's an odd situation at the moment that I think we'll only really know what way the land is lying on that as the season progresses,
Yeah, as well, just to touch on their transfer activity, just a lot of outgoing players, a lot of income players as well, but just the outgoing players, losing Gary Rogers, obviously retiring, being such a good player for them down the years. Sean Gannon going to Rovers as well, Stefan Kolovic, Dane Massey, I'm reading off the list again, Jordan Flores, all these are big names really. How do you think they're going to cope with that?
I have the same list here in front of me, just to let you know. And it's interesting. Yeah. But it was interesting. I was looking at it just before I came on with you guys, and like Sean Hoare, Sean Gannon, Nathan Adua, Gary Rogers, John Mountney, Dane Massey, Stefan Cholovich, and Will Patching. 8 players. That's a good 8 to start a team. You know what I mean? A team you'd expect to challenge for, maybe top 3 or something like that. So look at. Some of those departures, obviously, no one wants to see, no Dundalk fan wants to see Sean Hoare and Sean Gannon going to Shamrock Rovers, Do they strengthen Shamrock Rovers? They probably do, but Rovers were already pretty strong in those positions. Are they going to hugely strengthen Shamrock Rovers in those positions? We'll see. Sean Gannon gives you something very different to Ronan Finn, let's say in a right wing back role or something, But the other thing with Sean Gannon and the right wing back role is his best position. He's definitely the best right full back in the league. But when Filippo was playing 3 at the back last year and 5 across the midfield or whatever he was playing with wing backs, he opted against Sean Gannon in a lot of positions. So maybe he doesn't see that as being his best position. We know Shamrock Rovers play that a lot, So is he going to improve Rovers hugely in that position? It depends on how he's utilised, possibly. Sean Hoare is a very good player, but Dundalk were well stocked at centre back and have added an international now as well. So again, not diminishing Sean Hoare as a player. He's a fantastic player, going to be a real asset for Shamrock Rovers. But is he a huge loss for Dundalk? If Brian Gartland and Daniel Cleary and Andy Boyle and Sonny Nottestad all stay fit, Dundalk still have very good options there,
Yeah, for sure. Actually, touching on, sorry, just to jump in there, but touching on Nottestad, as you said, it's kind of a weird kind of recruitment process. A lot of kind of outside players coming in, the likes of, I'm going to butcher these names, but Ollie Eric Mitskogan, Alessio Abibi, Ryvish Jurkovskis or something. Sam Stanton coming in.
all your pronunciations with my face here. Carry on.
Yeah. There's a few easier ones. Sam Stanton, Peter Cherry coming in.
Good.
Yeah. Obviously, Junior is an interesting one as well. And then I think it's Jesus Chino Perez coming in as well. So interesting activity and the transfer recruitment they've had.
Yeah, again, so early in the close season, they lost those players to Rovers, and John Mountney heading out the door and Gary Rogers retiring. And, but I think there's been a bit more positivity given the quality of the player that Dundalk seem to have brought in. I think Jurkovskis, from what I've seen in the couple of performances, particularly against Bows, and even based on the YouTube videos I watched before he arrived, I know people criticize people, but sometimes you can see a player, you know what I mean? Sometimes you can get something from it. And the player I saw against Bows is what I thought. He's strong and he's fast, and he'll attack. I think he'll be a success in the league. I hope he is. Who else? Stanton. He's got the pedigree. So Dundalk really need that one to work, I think. There is talk that they're not finished signing yet and another player might yet come in, but I think it's in the midfield where Dundalk need to really close the gap against Shamrock Rovers. The
Richie Tell one could be crucial.
It could. It'll come halfway through the season, and we'll see what that means in terms of how long it takes him to get up to speed in the league, or if he becomes the player that he was before he left. You just don't know for sure, But Dundalk do need to close the gap in midfield. But Rovers have helped them in doing that a little bit with the boys who've left from midfield, and Jack Byrne and Aaron McAneff. The two, arguably, Chris Shields would definitely dispute this, and I probably would too. But definitely two of the best midfielders in the country. There's no doubt. Hugely influential. So that will help Dundalk close that gap a bit as well.
For sure.
Yeah,
and Greg Sloggett as well. Sorry, Greg Sloggett. He's had that season as well. And I expect more from him this season too.
Definitely. Just before my question, I just noticed the Frames poster there, so big thumbs up for that.
All right. That's the first single, actually. You won't remember that. Well, you might know the song, but you won't remember
it. So just looking towards the season, can you see Dundalk regaining the title or retaining the cup, possibly a European run? I know it's kind of impossible to predict, but you'd imagine they'd be in and around the top 3, top 2.
I think so. Yeah, I think so. And I think there's a chance there. I think what we've seen in pre-season has been relatively positive. There's been the core, there's a strong core still there, although there's been a few departures, and we've gone through those. I think I'm hopeful that the players that they've brought in. Remember as well, they've brought in like that attack. They've added Junior and Ole Eric Mitskogen. And they both look like they'll offer something different. I really like the signing of Junior. I think he gives them something on that right wing, along with Daniel Kelly. Stefan Cholovic was out there last season a bit, lost his place and wasn't a success in the club. Let's put it that way. So, that's definitely an upgrade on what they had out there as options, and he can play up front as well, which gives you a different sort of striker to Dave McMillan and Pat Hooban, I think, and Mitskogen, who looks like a unit, like he's a big lad, So, So I going forward, they look very, very strong. At the back, I still think they're very strong. The only question marks are possibly in midfield, but you have Chris Shields and you have Greg Sloggett, who are both seasoned now. I think they need one to come in and give them something different. Patrick McElhaney, Sean Murray, can they give them injury-free seasons? That's a huge question. If they can't, then they certainly need Sam Stanton or somebody to come in and be a success. Also goals, Gary Rogers going out as well. I think Peter Cherry was a great signing because, if Alessio Abibi isn't a success, know what Peter Cherry can do. It's great cover to have. So I think they're in a reasonably decent position, I think that, and it's a full season this season, not to go all Pat Hooban on it, but it's a full season. And I heard you mention that earlier on. And it is a full season and there is time possibly to, allow players to bed in, so we'll see how it goes, but I'd be hopeful.
For sure. Adrian, really appreciate you coming on. Thanks so much.
No problem. Thanks, guys. Great job.
Cheers.
Really appreciate it. Thanks for the chat.
No problem.
Grant, so that is Dundalk we're done with. So that's 4 out of the 5 we've finished. So the last team we have is Finn Harps, and we'll be joined by Oisin McLaughlin, who will bring into the stream now the final team to look at. Oisin, how are things?
Can't hear. I don't think.
Hi lads, how are you?
There he is.
How
are you?
How's things?
How are you?
Pretty good.
Not
pretty good.
Not bad.
Stuff.
Good.
Super.
So, can you kick us off?
Yeah. So,
for having me.
Can you hear us? Okay. Yeah, no problem at all. So Finn Harps did a brilliant escape last year, staying up.
Yeah.
Ended up finishing 8th. Especially with the COVID and the season restart. What's your thoughts on last season overall?
Yeah, great season overall. Best league finish in 20 years. Really well. It was the ball hit the post at the end against Waterford. That was basically saved the season.
As a Shells fan, I wasn't best pleased now.
The playoff and we lost it then, but I didn't see much hope to avoid the playoff, until I started picking up them results, against Bows, coming into the last 5 or 6 games, started picking up points and at the right time of the season, really kind of hit a peak. And Adam Foley came along, halfway through the season and started picking up, end up scoring, 3 goals or whatever it was. But he was a great addition to us, and we signed him as well. But it was really a really good season. It's Ollie Horgan says every year, we'll take 9th place, that's 8th place is happy days, and you can't complain with that. Yeah,
for sure.
Yeah,
avoid stress in the playoff.
That's absolutely it. Just avoiding the stress of having to play another few games.
We're well used to that at that stage, So.
It's part of furniture. Just touching on real quick, Rafa Traoré leaving last season. He's 39 now. He was in Sligo when we seen him a few years ago, but he had a pretty decent season for you last season. Also, especially considered he was so old. That's kind of disrespectful, but Is that a big loss for Finn Harps, on and off the pitch?
Well, I'd say he's a good leader in the dressing room. He popped up a goal against Cork in that 1-1 draw. He was there for 2 seasons. I was really happy to have him when he came from Sligo. But League Ireland legend. He deserves massive respect for what he done. Sure. He was at Galway for a season, and he was at Harps for 2, and then the rest all Sligo. Incredible respect for the man. League Ireland legend. If he's not around this year, but I'd say he's great experience in the dressing room. So I'd say he would be a myth.
Yeah, for sure. Looking at the recruitment so far, good few signings in, the likes of Luke McNicholas, Ryan Rainey, Connor Barry, Will Seymour, Ethan Boyle, Ryan Shanley, and the recent one, Tunde Owolabi, I think is a striker. What have you made of the signing so far?
Yeah, very good. Yeah, the likes of Ethan Boyle, who was with us in 2018, was it? Yeah, and he went off to Shamrock Rovers then.
Yeah.
Won the FA Cup title, and then he went to Linfield for a season. He's back with us now this year. Very good right back. Very good in the air. Then we have Ryan Shanley. Ryan Shanley came from Hibs. He'd be friendly with Kosvar Siddiqui, who's Harps centre back. He's re-signed as well for the new season. So, kind of connection there between Hibs and Harps. And then the other boys then, Conor Barry came from Galway. Will Seymour, good signing that, I think.
Definitely.
Yeah, and Ryan Rainey then came from the Ulster Senior League. So I'll see it'll be interesting to see how he gets on moving step up from the Ulster Senior League. But I mean, it's kind of we've had two midfielders are in, and we've I think one or two out. Gareth Harkin, captain, he's gone this year. Also in defence, Sam Todd's with the UCD. So Ethan Boyle, Sam Todd was kind of playing right back for some of the season last year. Him and kind of Dave Webster would mix between centre back and right back. So we have Ethan Boyle back in now, so he'll be playing right back, I'd assume anyway. Back four. So we'll see how it gets on. Could be back five at times, but I'm pretty happy with the business, really, to be honest. And Tunde, we don't really know. It's kind of hit and miss them strikers. We have, a few years ago, Eddie Desan, half decent striker. I mean, left after 1 year. See, with Harps, it's mainly 1 year contracts. So I mean, them strikers are hit and miss. Alex Codler which was us last year. It was decent, So Tunde, we'll see how he gets on. We also have Sean Boyd, played with Rovers for a year, and I think he's on a ACL or something then, or he's on the verge of signing as well. So we'll have a few.
Is that nearly done? Is it? Yeah.
I didn't hear about that.
He's on trial as well. So I had reporting today that he's on the verge of signing. So it's not done yet. But, he was with us a few years ago. So we'll see.
I remember that.
Yeah, Adam Foley as well up front. Good options up front for once. Harps, really struggle. We're not very good at scoring goals. I think we scored 20 goals or something last year. So we need to start getting some balls in the net.
That's it.
Yeah, you mentioned there like Ollie Horgan would sometimes he'd take 9th place like every year. But just looking ahead to next season, like, are you hoping the likes of Longford and Drogheda going up, that you, with the Premier Division experience the last few years, like, you can see yourself coming above them? Would you push towards more mid-table, or what are your expectations?
I'd like to see them build. You'd obviously take 8th place now as it is, but I mean, you'd like to see them build. This is a chance to build here. First, as I said already, best league position in 20 years. It's a chance to build on that there. You have the likes of, as you said, Longford. I don't rate them too high. Drogheda, I would rate higher. But you just hope there's some other teams that struggled along the side of us. Some people have hunted Waterford to go down near enough, as well. Yeah. The recruitment hasn't been too good. But who knows, as the Dundalk fan was saying there, unpredictable season, even though we do the full season, see how it goes. But I'd take 8th place at the minute. 7th, 6th, happy days. I don't see us going up now, but next year maybe. But you'd happily take that there if you can avoid the playoff. Happy days. The playoff. We have good luck in the playoffs. Playoff masters at this stage. But, well, Ollie works wonders, you see. So
he does. He loves it. He loves it.
The budget he has, it's unbelievable what he's actually done. He's the longest serving manager in the year or in the league. Him and Keith Long, 8 seasons. So I will see how it goes. Hopefully, you just hope for the best. But I would be more positive this coming into this season compared to past seasons.
Definitely. An interesting one that I saw was actually Carl O'Sullivan, because I heard he was on the verge of signing for Derry.
He
did a great season last year. How good is it to keep him?
Yeah, Devine was looking for him. No, I was chatting to, maybe I shouldn't say this, but I was chatting to a Cove player who actually is friends with Carol. Now, that was reported, but
can the inside scoop here?
Carol said to his friend that he wasn't actually in contact with Derry at all. Now, maybe he's just saying that, but I did see that there. There was rumours that Devine was on for him. But I mean, we've kept majority of the players, was good. David Webster, massive, player of the year, massive, re-sign him. Adam Foley, as I said already, he'll be good to push on next year. But even Ryan Connolly, Cal Sullivan, great, and Mark McGinley as well. Mark McGinley, they say he's up there with the best keepers in the league. Alan Manis, Talbot maybe, he's very, very good. He keeps Harps in a lot of games last season before, But the re-signing
times hasn't he been? I think.
What?
Player of the year, I think.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. Him and Webster, definitely up there, player of the years last year, and it's just it's good to actually keep a bulk of the squad, for next year, and we'll see how we get on.
Just touching on the Finn Harps kind of stadium redevelopment. There was with the building work stopped, I think 6 or 7 years ago on that main stand. Yeah, is there any news there, or is it kind of a sticking out like a sore thumb?
Well, I mean, it's just like the councillors when election time comes around, they're all, we'll do that, and
Jesus
no
Christ.
progress. I mean, the last I heard was, I don't know, I think there was a few updates, but I mean, the last I heard was Sport Ireland have to release the money to the FAI, but the FAI can't get the money off Sport Ireland because of what happened at the FAI and John Delaney and that. Sport Ireland, I think they're giving the funding or something to the FAI, and the FAI then passing it on to the...
It's a mess. It's a mess.
It is a mess. It'd be great to see as well.
Absolutely.
If you're in Stranraer or whatever, we see it. It's just sad to see, but hopefully we get some movement on it, I mean, it's just a work in progress. You see other teams trying to redevelop as well. I
suppose,
hopefully next time I'm speaking to you, maybe say,
I don't
know, it's hit and miss really. You don't know what's going on.
That's it.
There's no
you're getting a lot of love in the comments.
No.
There's one here actually just before you go. Abbey scored 41 goals in 35 games for his previous club. That's some record. Was that FC United in Manchester? Was it?
FC United in Manchester. I think it's like the 4th or 5th year in England. I think it was actually 35 goals in 41 games, but still, still a good record. But then again, you don't know what level he's playing at, that's good there. But you see how he gets on in Balbuffet, it'd be great if he was able to do that in this league,
That's it, definitely.
Absolute pleasure. Really appreciate you coming on.
Cheers, lads.
Thanks so much.
Cheers.
Nice one.
Oh, lad.
But I think I could have lost this there.
Lovely guy.
That was really good. Finn Harps, what do you think this season? Think they'll be okay?
Just based on that, I want them to do well. I just love the passion, man. I love it. It's like, geez, we take 8th place right now. Like it's just they've like very low expectations. I just love it.
Definitely a soft spot for them anyway.
Yeah, exactly. And to be honest, man, I want to go out. Go to Ballybuffet at some stage, 100%. Night out, maybe an away day. So I like to see them do well. It's just a matter. It will be between. Realistically, I think it's going to be between them, Drogheda, and Longford. So I don't know. It's going to be tight, really, between those three. It's always
Watford to be down there as well. They've been really, really bad in their recruitment. So I think it could be 4. But Watford always seem to just be all right. But I think they could struggle this year. Be the first year they do.
Yeah.
So hard to say. Like the swing between a game or two can be massive. So we'd probably be better, have a better idea of that towards like September, October, I'd say.
Yeah, you know after the first few games as well, like how well teams are playing, and you probably see the quality of the signings that they brought in, so that's going to be the big telling point, really.
Yeah, I wonder if players are going to struggle, not struggle, but adapt to, they've had such a long layoff. They kind of did the whole kind of spring basically off, March, April, May, and then the season we started in the summer, but now we're back to a 38 game or 36 game.
Yeah, 36. Yeah.
36. Yeah. You kind of see how they adapt to it.
Yeah, for sure. It's so weird seeing our faces on the tree, isn't it?
I know, zoomed in, seeing all spots and everything. Oh god.
Well, really enjoyed that actually. Talking to all the fans. Obviously, it's
really
part 1, but really enjoyed it.
Yeah, I'll say one thing actually. When Adrian came on, I did double takes. I recognized his voice straight away. I was like, "This is so weird."
100%, you recognise him straight away. The voice.
Yeah, it was gas. But I think they all went really well. Yeah, cheers for all the lads who came on. Really appreciate it. Next week, gonna have 5 other fans on. So the other teams that we haven't done, we're hopefully gonna get them on. So yeah.
So Longford, Longford, Sligo, Shamrock Rovers, St. Pat's, and Waterford. Yeah. Waterford. So looking forward to that. We'll do a weekly check of the likes actually. So last week we did hit 82, I think, and the like was 50. So we'll check it now. But if we can hit 60, we're going to gradually work towards 100. I'd say we're on around the 30 mark, I guess.
It's 34, yeah, 34.
34, that's very good. That's like good for
I haven't liked it. I haven't liked it, so this 35.
I haven't liked it on my second, third, fourth, and fifth account. You know, all those accounts. So
that sound like Jack O'Brien.
Sound like Paul Needham. Burner accounts.
Just before we finish up, just a little bit of FAI news today. The Qatar games have been switched. So the where are we now? The Tuesday, the 30th of March. Ireland will play Qatar in Hungary, and then Tuesday, October 12th, Qatar will come to the Qatar will come to the Aviva Stadium. So they've been switched due to kind of COVID concerns, blah blah blah.
Why are we playing Qatar in Hungary? I
was just about to say, like, two huge World Cup qualifiers. The players will be absolutely spent. Hopefully, a lot of probably most of the reaction I've seen today is like, why the fuck are we playing Qatar?
There's no
friendly.
There's no reason. Yeah. There's no reason. Like, so stupid.
So stupid. But yeah. We're just over the hour mark and all. So I think I was kind of worried about the time during it, but it was 10 minutes pretty much bang on. So worked out really well. Fair play to all the lads. Once again, that came on, they're all on time and everything. So really, really appreciate that. Really, really top fellas. And I think I did really enjoy that now, lads. If we can hit 60 likes, that'd be greatly appreciated, as you said. And if you can subscribe as well, we're on the road towards the 3K mark. So that'd be much appreciated if you could hit that subscribe button. Getting there. And,
any sponsorship by the end of
the year. We're selling. That's it. We're selling out.
Really appreciate it, guys. Thanks for tuning in. Catch us next week.
Cheers, guys.